Okay, today I want to talk about something completely different. I want to talk about the Smithsonian Museum's 3D digitization project and what can be done there. They have a 3D viewer that plays in your web browser that lets you look at all the different stuff that they've got, but I was interested in whether I could bring their content into Unity. The collection is here. It has things like, I'm going to talk about the Apollo 11 module, but it has skeletons and burial sites and archaeological things and artworks and all kinds of cool stuff. So a lot of things. The first thing I learned playing with the Smithsonian site was to not try and download the full resolution things because they were several gigabytes. They were huge. One of them I gave up at something like 5 gigabytes. And this indicates to me that this is going to be way more triangles, way more vertices than Unity can handle. Unity's kind of default limit for the number of vertices in an object is about 65,000, based on the fact that the index that is used to define the various triangles is a 16-bit integer. So there is that limit. Apparently it's been broken, and not broken, but it's been bypassed by going to 32-bit integers. But they do say that this flogs your GPU terribly in the culling process. Okay, so what I found also was that very few of them were in the more or less familiar FBX format that we see most of our 3D content in. Most of them were in the OBJ format, and some others I didn't bother to try. But the OBJs imported into Unity without any difficulty. They took longer to import than FBXs do, but they did import. So I downloaded the Apollo 11 capsule. It looked pretty cool. It came in several pieces. There was the capsule, its interior, and its hatch, 3 pieces. I did find, of course, that the scale factor, which was by default set at 1, were all really way too big. So most of them I scaled down to 0.001, and things then looked the correct size in Unity. And this is something that you commonly will run into with imported creations. The capsule had 2 pieces. It had the shell, the lower part of the capsule, and the top, which is where the connection to the command module was. And it had textures for all the different pieces, diffuse, normal, and occlusion textures. The interior was more pieces. There was the inside of the hull, there were the seats, there was the control panel, and there was something they called graffiti, which was some written instructions that were pasted up to the wall. Now, a key part of the OBJ format is the companion MTL file. And all the MTL file contains is information about what textures to load. And Unity seemed to do this fine. I did notice that the import generated material, it was ML, on each item was A, not editable. So in order to do anything to it, you had to make a copy. And B, it didn't seem to have those normal and occlusion textures added to it. And this was apparent looking at the MTL file. It only contained information about adding the diffuse textures. So I made my own textures using the provided normals and occlusion textures. And at least with the Apollo 11 capsule, it didn't really make a big difference. I show you the difference here between the two. Here's a comparison between the 2 different types of materials. turn off the gizmos here. So there's the standard shader with normal, diffuse, and occlusion, and there's the texture as imported. And there's not a whole lot of difference between these two that I can see. However, in the case of the Cosmic Buddha, which is a beautiful 400 AD statue, this is kind of the default material here. If I go to one with the normal component, you're seeing a lot more relief here than in the case of the default material. And one advantage you get with the standard shader, of course, you can crank up the degree of normal, and you get something like this that is where the relief is very exaggerated, and you can see much more detail than you could in the default just diffuse texture. So all of that is, of course, very interesting. I also noticed that Unity, when it imported the textures, set the size to 2048, whereas the provided textures were 4096. And so I re-imported all the textures at their full resolution. It didn't make a big difference, but a little crisper. For fun, I also found a model of the Bell X11, and I set that up as a waypoint follower AI. The Bell X11 was the first airplane to break the sound barrier, piloted by Chuck Yeager. He got to 700 miles an hour, Mach 1.06, in his Bell X11 named Glamorous Glamis. And here's the Bell X11. Whoops. Sorry. Here's the Bell X11 running in AI mode, where these things follow each other around. There was also a space shuttle, the Space Shuttle Discovery. And so, of course, I set it up as a AI follower. Basically, what I did was I took the default airplane and replaced the mesh that was on the default airplane with the mesh for the shuttle. There was some fiddling with colliders and other things, but not terrible. And finally, there was the Wright Flyer. So we've got the 1903 first airplane that flew 120 feet on December 17th, 1903. We've got the Bell X11, the first one to break the sound barrier, and we have the Space Shuttle, which is an incredible machine that is no longer with us. So I've got I tried to set up the shuttle to fly like a brick. This is without power, which is the way it enters the atmosphere and comes down, and it has to basically glide into an airport somewhere. That's it up ahead, and I'll let you play with that and try and do something. And there's also the Wright Flyer. Here's the Wright Flyer. And the only thing I did here was fiddle with the propeller. The propeller from the standard assets propeller plane. And it was a bit of fiddling to get it in the right place. The one thing I couldn't do with the Wright Flyer was get it to fly slow enough. The original Wright Flyer flew about 10 miles an hour. And there's no way I can get the standard airplane to fly that slow. So that was not an option. So I'll post this. You can play with it. And one other thing. Here's the Columbus interior. It has several different cameras that you access with the K and L. There's the right seat camera, the left seat camera, and the center seat camera. There's the control panel, which I've added some lights to just for fun. And if I turn around over here, looking at the hatch, and I open the hatch, we can see the sunlight there. So I had fun with this. And if I keep switching cameras, there's the outside view. Open and close the hatch with an animation. And then there's one other camera in the tunnel that goes up to the to the command module. So all of that was a lot of fun. And I'm going to stop sharing at this point, and I'll end the recording, and I'll see you all in class. Bye.